After booking a cruise, many people get overwhelmed with all the things that they have to do. They're terrified that they will make a costly mistake that's going to ruin their dream vacation. And after almost 40 cruises and witnessing countless vacation disasters, I now follow a list of 7 critical tasks that absolutely must be done immediately and 5 smart moves that experienced cruisers use to save money and reduce stress. Now, the last critical task alone saved me $1,200 just this last month. And it takes less than 10 minutes to complete, and I'm embarrassed to say that I haven't learned it until this last year. If you're new here, my name is Kat, and I share cruise tips to help you have the best possible vacation experience without the common headaches and mistakes. Now, if you booked your first cruise, the first thing you must do is a happy dance, because you've got an amazing vacation to look forward to. But before you start daydreaming about those beautiful ocean views and delicious food, there are some very important things you need to take care of. Now, with that said, don't let it stress you out. I have read so many comments from people saying that they're overwhelmed by preparing for their cruise and it's really stressful for them. Don't let it be. I mean, honestly, if you do the things I cover in this video, you'll be fine even if you don't do the 101 things that you can do to prepare for the cruise. And if you're a first-time cruiser and have questions I don't cover, drop them in the comments below. I'll make sure to answer them to help you out. And if you've been cruising for a while and have additional tips to share, please leave those in the comments too. We'll benefit from each other's knowledge. The first thing you need to do after booking your cruise is to thoroughly check your booking confirmation. Now, this might sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people skip this step and end up with major problems. And I'm talking about things like checking that your name is spelled correctly and matches exactly what's on your travel documents. Check your ship, sailing date, cabin type. Make sure you're actually booked for what you wanted to book. And make sure the pricing and payment schedules match what you were quoted. I did learn this the hard way. This was back when we first started cruising. I booked directly with a cruise line, and the agent made mistakes both with my birthday and the spelling of my name. Now, many cruise lines unfortunately nowadays outsource their call centers to other countries where English isn't the primary language, so that can lead to miscommunication and errors. And unfortunately, small mistakes can cause big problems. If your name doesn't match your ID exactly, you could be denied boarding. And if your birth date is wrong, who knows, you might be charged the wrong fare. You might have had a discount for a senior discount and they thought you were 30 years younger than you are. This next task might seem like a no-brainer, but I can't tell you how many people miss this step. As soon as you book your cruise, request your time off from work. We're currently getting ready to sail on a group cruise in June, and one of our cruise companions, who's our close friend, doesn't even know if he can make it because he didn't request his time off early enough. And we're all really nervous about it. We hate it. We really want him to join us, but he might end up losing the entire cruise fare because it's past the final payment date. And by the way, while you're at it, set your calendar reminders for other important dates, especially final payment. If you don't pay on time, guess what? They will cancel your booking. Next up is making sure you have the proper documentation for travel. And it's going to be different for different cruises, but it's absolutely critical because without the right documents, you will not be able to board the ship. First, check your passport expiration date if you are traveling with a passport. Most cruise destinations and most cruise lines require that your passport be valid for at least 6 months beyond your return date. And if you need to renew, start that process immediately because it can take months. While many closed-loop cruises starting and ending in the US technically allow US citizens to travel with a birth certificate and a government-issued photo ID, some do not, so you do need to check that. Now, I strongly recommend having a passport anyway. If you need to fly home from a foreign port due to an emergency, you will need it anyway. Also, you'll need a Real ID compliant driver's license or another real ID like a passport card or passport book to fly domestically. And remember that documentation requirements are changing constantly, so triple check the specific requirements for your cruise line and itinerary. And this is extremely important when you're traveling with children, and even more important if you have a different last name than your children. Find out what paperwork you need to show to prove that your children are your children and you're allowed to take them on this cruise. So the key is, you can do everything right on the rest of this list, but if they don't let you on board the ship, nothing else will matter. Now, this is something I feel very strongly about, and that is purchasing travel insurance as soon as possible after booking your cruise. And I have to admit, we traveled without insurance when we first started cruising, and now I look back and I thank God that nothing happened. It's one of those things that you don't need or you don't think about until you need it. Now, our reasoning was that we were booking the cheapest cruises we could find, and we had credit cards with some travel protection built in. The biggest reason we use travel insurance now, even though we have excellent travel benefits with some better credit cards, is to get medical care coverage. In my research, I also realized that insurance companies are a lot better to deal with if you did have to cancel your cruise versus credit card companies that will do a lot more to try to avoid paying out. Cruise line insurance often doesn't provide the same level of coverage as the third-party policies, so do your research and compare before deciding which option is better for you. And here's something many people don't know. Most third-party travel insurance policies will cover pre-existing medical conditions, but only if you purchase the policy within 14 days of making your initial cruise deposit. And that's why it's critical to research and purchase insurance right away. So look for policy that includes good medical coverage, evacuation coverage, and good trip cancellation and interruption benefits. And if you do cruise frequently, consider an annual policy, and that's what we personally do because it's a lot more cost effective than buying separate policies for each trip. Every cruise line has different policies, and it is very important to understand them before you sail. So this can really save you from having disappointment or unexpected expenses once you're on board. So first of all, you want to understand the cancellation and refund policies. Know exactly what penalties apply if you need to cancel after the deposit is made and up to your final payment date, and what circumstances might qualify for exceptions. Then you want to review what items are prohibited on your ship so you don't get things confiscated when you're trying to board. And then find out what you are allowed to bring, because some lines allow you to bring limited amount of soda or alcohol on board, and that can save a good amount of money, while other lines prohibit bringing anything. And finally, check if there are any specific health requirements or forms you need to complete before boarding, especially if you're cruising internationally. If you or somebody in your party has special needs, it's critical to request those accommodations early. Now, this applies to accessible cabins, medical equipment needs, dietary requirements, or any other special assistance. Now, accessible cabins are limited on cruise ships and they tend to book up very quickly. So if you need one of these cabins, you want to book your cruise as early as possible. And at this point, it's going to be at least a year or more in advance for any kind of popular sailing. The medical equipment like oxygen concentrators or CPAP machines, you want to notify the cruise line well in advance. Some equipment may require approval, and you might need to arrange for power sources or battery backups. Now, if you have dietary restrictions and allergies, most cruise lines have a form that you can send off ahead of time, and most of the times they will accommodate those needs when you're on board. Now let's talk about getting to your cruise, and this is absolutely critical. You may have heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. You need to arrive at least a day before your departure time. Now, are there any exceptions? Well, yes. We cruise a lot, and there are occasions where we fly in the morning of the cruise, and I give myself full account that we may not be sailing on a cruise. So we don't ever do it for any cruise that we really care about. I have traveled for business for years, and only recently I started using Google Flights. In the last month alone, I've saved $1,200 by repricing our Southwest flights for our cruises just for the next few months. So now that we covered the critical tasks, let's move on to the 5 smart moves that will make your cruise vacation better. And these aren't necessarily 100% essential, but they will save you money, they'll save you some time, and they'll save you stress. And if you're finding this video helpful so far, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel, and I appreciate your support. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time to do that so you don't miss any of my other cruise tips. If you book directly with a cruise line, you might not know that you can often transfer your booking to a travel agent within 30 to 60 days of making the initial reservation. That's going to depend on a cruise line. And this is one of the smartest moves you can make, and here's why. A good travel agent can help you with a lot of these tasks, like monitoring for price drops, helping with any issues that arise, and mainly providing the expert advice throughout your planning process. They can often get you onboard credits, special perks, and possibly even lower fares through group bookings that you wouldn't have access to on your own. And the best part is that using a travel agent usually doesn't cost you anything extra because they're paid by the cruise lines, so you get all these benefits at no additional cost to you. Now, if you don't have a good travel advisor, I'd love to work with you. Feel free to contact me. My website is in the description, and we currently do have many discount rates on Royal Caribbean and adding some promotions for other cruise lines next. Popular shore excursions can sell out quickly, especially for bucket list destinations like Alaska or Europe. And so by researching and booking your excursions early, you secure your spot for the activities that you're really most excited about. And you have 2 main options for excursions, and that's booking through the cruise line or using third-party providers. Of course, the cruise line excursions come with the guarantee that the ship won't leave without you if the tour runs late, but they're a lot more expensive. Third-party excursions are typically cheaper and they offer smaller groups, but you're responsible for getting back to the ship on time. Whichever option you choose, use a credit card for these purchases for additional protection, and I always try to book excursions that can be canceled without penalty up to at least a few days before the cruise or even closer to the excursion, so you can book now and secure a spot and then change your mind later if needed. Understanding your dining options and making reservations early can really make a difference in your cruise experience. Different cruise lines offer different dining setups. For example, Royal Caribbean has my time dining, where you can eat whenever you want, or traditional dining, where you have the same tables and waitstaff each night. I have a separate video that covers those differences in detail and helps you choose which one is best for your travel style, so I'll link it here and in the description. Now, other cruise lines only have flexible dining, and they don't even allow reservations ahead of time. Then beyond the main dining options, you have specialty restaurants that offer elevated experiences, but at an additional fee. So from my experience, having your dining plans sorted out before you board makes it for a much more relaxing vacation. Instead of waiting until the last minute to throw things in a suitcase, I recommend starting packing earlier. And there's a hint, especially if this is middle of winter or right after Christmas, where you had all those nice meals and you're packing for a tropical vacation, make sure that swimsuit still fits. Definitely research the weather for your cruise dates and destinations, and consider the activities you'll be doing. So I would recommend to start collecting items for your cruise several months in advance, and that spreads out the cost and ensures you don't forget anything important. It also gives you time to shop sales and find best deals on items you need. My final smart move is to dive into research mode, and this is where the fun really begins. So start with downloading the cruise line app as soon as possible, and you can see that those apps are getting better all the time, and they allow you to browse activities, deck plans, and dining options before you cruise. Some will let you book experiences right through the app. I always join Facebook groups for my specific sailing. These communities are gold mines for information, and you get to connect with people who'll be on your cruise. And if you're not the kind of person that loves to go and meet other people, one great use of these Facebook groups is that people will post updates as soon as things become available or drop in price. Thankfully, due to YouTube, you can now watch ship tours and port guides on every possible combination of ships and itineraries, so you can familiarize yourself with your ship and destinations before you even go there. The more research you do before you cruise, the more confident and prepared you'll feel when it's time to sail. And if you want more tips like this on saving money and making the most of your cruise, then watch these videos next.